Hello viewers. I am John Renard and this is my guest Quentin S. Crisp.
Hello.
I wanted to do something in honor of Chomu Press releasing its 10th book, and decided to make a video of the interview that we conducted 1 year ago now, to promote Chomu's first offering, Remember You're a One Ball.
You're just stealing this from Steve Alette, aren't you?
No, of course not.
I didn't think so. That would be absurd after all.
Well then, I present to you the One Ball blog tour interview. Or, why isn't this book about Hitler? Considering the lack of fantastic elements in this novel, are we to expect more realism from you in the future?
Not especially. I do have a general plan for the future, inasmuch as I have notebooks filled with ideas for stories, so I can see the possible trajectory of my work. However, in terms of what I start writing next after I've finished one piece of writing, it's always a question of what most inspires me at the time, or, if I'm not feeling inspired, what seems most appropriate and easiest to get on with. So, what I'm actually planning is to write in a more science fiction-y style. And I really like to write some pure fantasy. I don't mean sword and sorcery, but, well, maybe Hayao Miyazaki would come reasonably close to what I mean. Is that a reasonable answer? Basically, I can't tell for sure, but we'll have to wait and see. I probably will write realistic pieces, but, well, it's not like I have a plan to become more and more realistic. Certainly not.
Do you care to give us some idea about this often hinted at for you coming semi-utopian, science fiction-y area that you might be exploring?
I have a working title for a collection, the title being Nutopia, but I'll probably change it, as people could mistake the pronunciation of the word for Nutopia. So far I have written 2 stories that I've earmarked for this collection. They are The Magical Universe and Sea Angels. Titles I have in mind are The Magibonian, The Golden Bacillus, Serenity Falls, Demimonde and a load of other stuff. Basically, the idea is that being pessimistic is pretty much redundant in the world as it currently exists, so I'm interested in experimenting with what seems unfeasible, which is optimism, of a kind. But I don't know how optimistic the general reader will find it. On the whole, I find it irresistible to put nasty things in what I write.
As an aside, I know that you are a fan of Magibon on YouTube, but is the title, The Magibonian, a reference to the Welsh Mabinogion? Or are you calling her an onion? A leak maybe?
It is a reference to the Welsh cycle of tales, yes. It's just a silly play on words, really. I thought it sounded good. But the story will feature Magibon as a character. Or rather, as a goddess.
This brings up a recurring theme that you seem to have in your work of the objectification of women. As in putting them on a pedestal anyhow, such as Betty Page in The Tao of Petite Beige. Are you comfortable with trying to depict the female psyche?
I was talking to someone about this last night.
How apropos.
Quite. Anyway, I think you just have to do things by instinct. I am not a woman, I don't think, and I've never had much confidence that I understand people anyway, so I even feel it would be presumptuous of me to try and write from a female point of view. I sometimes cringe when I read male authors who really try to do this very self-consciously. It's not just male authors, though. When I first read Wuthering Heights, I thought the narrator was female. I realized after a while that he was meant to be male, but he seemed to have a very female voice to me. Anyway, I think there are times when you can make the leap and do it successfully, but it seems to me mysterious how this happens. If you think of it as too much of a science, I think you can really cramp yourself. But, yeah, objectification. I won't deny it. I suppose I like to see it more as a muse thing.
Well, back to the novel at hand. How do you feel about One Ball? There's many similarities to the film The Wicker Man.
I think that the Wicker Man has a much more celebratory side to it. Despite the dark ending, it's a kind of celebration of paganism. I think the pagan aspects in One Ball are more hidden and less. I'm not really trying to comment on paganism. I suppose there are useful archetypes that have resonance to people, and sacrifice is one of them. But I think I'm emphasizing quite a modern form of sacrifice. It is the sacrifice of civilization.
Yes, the sin-eater and the original sense of the term scapegoat.
There are mystical implications to the whole thing, but, well, the reader can take that how they want to.
What is it that you want readers to read this book for? What is it that it offers to us?
I'm basically just a tap dancer, you know. I just write what I have to write, and people can take what they want from it. I'm not insensible to the kind of dark Buddhism that's in the air in some of the places where I hang out. Thomas Ligoshi has said that literature is entertainment or it is nothing, and if we accept that there is no ultimate point in existence, then this is almost an inevitable truth. Having said that, there must be at least some residual belief in the possibility of progress in me.
You obviously wouldn't write so many difficult stories or from such a variety of viewpoints if you were merely trying to entertain.
Well, I have to say, I personally find that more entertaining. I've noticed that I do find different things entertaining to many people.
Which brings us to the next question. Why did you choose such a difficult book to be the flagship for your newly launched Chomu Press?
I feel I haven't quite answered the last question, but anyway, I'll answer this now. This is an interesting question, because, well, I think that One Ball is both difficult and mainstream. Some people have found it a hard read, and others have found it very accessible and pacey. I think it's quite possible that some people will be upset by it. Basically, the book was pretty much ready and waiting to be published. But apart from that, there's the adage about starting as you mean to go on. If the first book is already offensive to a number of people, it gets set out of the way, and we can stop being merely polite and not waste time. Just to get back to the last question, as I say, there must be some residual belief in the idea of progress in me, even though that's a really problematical concept when the sun is going to implode and everything. So, my contribution to society with One Ball is basically it's against witch hunts, I suppose, to put things in simple terms. But, you know, basically people should read it and draw their own conclusions.
Why then does Ramsey go along with the persecution instead of rebelling against it?
I'm not sure how to answer this without giving away some of the plot. I suppose it's given away a bit in some of the reviews. Anyway, so I'll attempt an answer. Ramsey has the will to rebel, but this is thwarted by the prevalence of a particular worldview. I simply wasn't going to write a story of good triumphing over evil. That wasn't the story that was in me to write. I wanted to look at what it means for society as it exists to be right.
So, essentially, since he is drowning, he is compelled to tread water to save himself?
That's one way of looking at it.
Well, to me at least, authorial intent is more important to the work than reader interpretation.
I'm not sure I agree. The thing is, the book will be different for each person. Of course, I do have my intent, and there are some things that I can clear up, like the sense in which a particular word is meant, etc. But I wouldn't like to rob people of their own experience of the book.
I think of it like this. The author's intent is like a cake, with the reader's interpretation being the icing. The reader puts whatever flavor that they like into it, but it still has a base that remains flour, egg, ampersand sugar, or whatever sick thing you make your cakes with.
I think that the unconscious plays a huge part in the creation of any work of art. Therefore, it is quite possible for readers to find something in a novel that the author did not know they intended.
True, like a cake ring for carnival.
I don't even know what that is. Oh, hang on. Like a sixpence in a Christmas pudding.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. This is a very involved question, actually. I feel like any symbol should be like a bottomless well, really. And a good novel, too.
And unless you can think of any other questions that you would like to ask yourself, here is my final question.
Okay.
Why is this novel not a fictional account of Adolf Hitler and his singular testicles' influence over his rise to power and infamy?
In a strange way, I think it is.
But wouldn't Hitler have been kept from becoming the Führer in one ball? The world, because of his condition?
You'll have to ponder the particular question for yourself.
It seems that you have written about Bizarro World.
Maybe the mirror image is always reversed. I don't know, but the image that we receive is already upside down. And the brain turns it the right way up again, apparently.
Yes, the brain is the copy editor of the soul.
There's no answer to that.
No, but it's a good title. As is, the mirror image is always reversed. Plus then you could start working your way into other terminal punctuation in your titles.
No, it's exclamation marks all the way for me.
I know, you were just too excitable.
I'm afraid so.